Good evening, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny. It's kind of cold down here on the lower level. I'm going bald, and so my head needs to be covered. It is freezing down here in the lower level, which is the library, which you have all seen over the years, different parts of it. You know, there's bookshelves and all around, and way in the back are bookshelves, and this is where most of our library is. There's a back room which you've seen with bookcases, and over there is where my library books, New Testament, Old Testament, biblical studies, New Testament theology, Old Testament theology, commentaries in the books of the Bible. And in the back room is all the other books. But anyway, somebody in my last video said they wanted to see the thrift store books. I've been talking about it. It's been a couple of weeks, and they're piling up. And also some Book Nook, as you all know, I've repeated myself many times. I volunteer at the local library, which is about 5 minutes from where we live. It's a 4-story building. It is the district library for this area, and I volunteer in the bookstore, the used bookstore, the Book Nook, and I got books from there. And I've gotten books from Goodwill, thrift store, Action House, thrift store, Bibles to Mexico, thrift store, Goodwill, and the cat rescue thrift store a couple weeks ago. And so I thought I'd show those books. There's a lot of them. There's at least maybe 20. So I'm not going to go into these books. I'm not going to read about them. I'm just going to show them, and so I can put them away. This is a Monday. Today is, I think it's Monday the 10th, 2022. It is 7:20. Tonight is the National Football Championship between Georgia and Alabama. My wife is going for Georgia. I'm going for Alabama. But anyway, talking about the South, I got these at the Book Nook a couple of weeks ago. It's a 3-volume series. It's a massive thing. This is volume, it's called The Civil War Narrative. This volume this is the third. The Civil War, a narrative, Red River to Apocalyptics by Shelby Foote. It's very famous. 3-volume series. I got this for my Civil War. I got rid of a lot of my Civil War books because I didn't have room for them, but I kept some. And I wanted this because it's it's just a straight narrative on the Civil War. As you know, the PBS documentary on the Civil War, Shelby Foote was always in it. And this is the first volume, Sumter to Perryville by Summer Foote. And then the third volume is The Civil War, a narrative from Vicksburg to Meridian by Shelby Foote. So I got that. For my American history, as you all know, my primary focus, as I've looked over my reading, I am into American history, especially 19th century history, just the history of America. I'm an American. I'm into literary history of America, the Christianity in America. I'm an American. So then, first I'll just show you some books I got at thrift stores. I got this at Bibles in Mexico, I think last week. It's a novel by Anna Gavalda. It's translated from the French. It's called I Wish Someone Were Waiting for Me Somewhere. It's only a quarter, and it had all those. When I cataloged it in my library thing, it had a couple thousand people had it. So I never heard of it, but it was the winner of the 2000 Grand Prix Rit Lira, winner of the Agma, short story collection. I don't know. So I got this. Looked interesting. I have this in hardback. I got it for a quarter. Yeah, I don't know. I just got it. I thought I'd put it in stuff at the Book Nook. Destiny of the Republic, The Tale of Madness and Medicine and Murder of a President by Candice Millard. You've all seen this. I have it in hardback. It's history. This is a biography on Theodore Roosevelt, Lying in the White House, The Life of Theodore Roosevelt by Ada D. Donald. As you all know, as I said in my last video, I collect the writings of Theodore Roosevelt and his books about his life. I got this book. I have all Wallace Stegner's writings back in the back room on a shelf, but this is a Penguin Classic, and I just wanted to add it to my Penguin Classic collection. The Angle of Repose. So I got that from my Penguin Classic collection. This is on a very famous Bostonian socialite. Her name was Isabel Stewart Gardner, and this is her biography, Mrs. Jack. The biography of Isabel Stewart Gardner by Louisa Hall Tharp. I was really pleased to get this because, as you know, I'm into the history of Boston, and she was a very famous Bostonian Brahmin, and I think she has a museum that she started or was a part of. She assembled one of the great collections of art treasures in America and left them to the public in a Venetian palace that now bears her name, which probably Isabel Stewart Gardner. My wife said when she visited Boston, she went to that museum and checked it out. So that's a biography. This is another biography, Wills for the World, Henry Ford, His Company, and the Century of Progress. This is by Douglas Brinkley. He's a very famous American historian. He's written tons of books. I have some of them. He wrote, some I've gotten dehauled, like The Unfinished Presidency, Jimmy Carter's Journey to the White House, which I dehauled. The Magic Bust, An American Odyssey, which I have. He wrote a book on Theodore Roosevelt and conservationism. He wrote a book on all kinds of things. He edited Hunter S. Thompson's letters. He edited, Douglas Brinkley edited Jack Kerouac's journals. But anyway, I got this from, I have another biography on Henry Ford by somebody else, but it was only 60 cents. This is by a novel by Gail Godwin. I collect all her novels. This is one of her early ones, The Southern Family, a novel. I didn't have this one. I got this for $1 at the Book Nook, and I've always enjoyed her novels, so I picked this up, Gail Godwin. I got this book. I'm not really into Nazism, but the reason why I got this book is because it's about Vienna, Austria. It's called Asperger's Children, The Origins of Autism in Nazi Vienna by Edith Schaefer. It looked kind of interesting. I'm interested in early psychiatry, psychology, Sigmund Freud, Jung, the whole scene in Vienna just before the rise of the Nazis, and I'm kind of interested in that subject, so I just grabbed it. This is a novel I got from the Book Nook. It's an Europia edition. I tell you, I've told you I collect Europia editions, and this is a historical novel, and I don't know, it just looked interesting. It's called Now We Shall Be Entirely Free by Andrew Miller. It was Miller's writings as a source of wonder and delight by Hilary Milden. I think it takes place in England, historical fiction by Andrew Miller. Now We Shall Be Entirely Free. I have a huge container of Europia editions. I just collect them. This is a poetry novel by not a poetry novel, a collection of poetry by Robert Graves. I collect the writings of Robert Graves, collected short stories. He's written all kinds of books. I have him in the back room, but this is his poetry by Robert Graves. Poems about love from my poetry collection. Here's a Hilary Mandel. I collect her novels. I didn't have this one. This is the third one. The first one is Wolf Hall, second Bring Up the Bodies, and this is the third in a historical trilogy called The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mandel. I got this at a Humane Society Cat Rescue a couple of weeks ago. This is a D.H. Lawrence, A Portrait of a Genius by Richard Addington. I have a huge D.H. Lawrence collection. I just pre-ordered another biography in D.H. Lawrence. It's already in hardback, but I pre-ordered the paperback, which comes out in the summer. But I got this from my D.H. Lawrence collection, and I didn't have this in my D.H. Lawrence collection. This is a Hopkins Reader, revised and enlarged selections from the writings of Gerard Manley Hopkins. I collect these. I have two other ones by him. I have Gerard Manley Hopkins Poems and Prose, and then I have the poems of Gerard Manley Hopkins, and then I found this one. So I really like, it's kind of religious, and I've always enjoyed his poetry, and this one has his observations of nature, practical criticism, personal letters. So this is on him, Hopkins. Highly recommend him if you're into poetry. This is, I'm not really what you call this. It's called Carceral Capitalism by Jackie Wang. It's on prison reform, something like that. I'm not really sure what it's about, but it's by Simotex and I like these books, and I like odd books, and it looked kind of odd. It's a mixture of essays, I don't know, it just looked kind of interesting, and so I grabbed it from the Book Nook. I got this in the mail. This is a book of poetry. It's called The Age of Huts by Ron Stillman. I'm not really sure when I don't know when I ordered this, and I got it in the mail from Amazon, and it's a long prose poem, and it just kind of, I was just kind of interested in it, and that's why I ordered it. A New California Poetry, Ron Stillman is the author of more than 20 volumes of poetry. His most recent books include Woundwood, Under Albany, Multiplex, and N.O. And this is his complete The Age of Huts. I don't know, it just looked kind of interesting, so I got it from Amazon. I got this from the Animal Rescue or Cat Rescue a couple of weeks ago, Just Kids by Patti Smith. This is a hardback edition, and I already had a paperback edition of this right here, Just Kids by Patti Smith, and I found a hardback edition. This is a first edition, decal edge. It's in perfect condition. I'm into the music of Patti Smith, her poetry, her memoirs. This is when she lived in New York City, and Robert Mapplethorpe is on the cover with her when they're really young. So I got that. And then I found at that Humane Society for Cat Rescue, The Apostle Travels Among the Tombs of the 12 Apostles. It's like a travel memoir where this Tom Bristol, he goes and visits the areas where supposedly the tombs of the 12 apostles are at. He goes through like Judas Iscariot, Philip and James of Antioch, Andrew, Peter. I don't know. I looked at this a couple years ago when it was new. This is underlined, but it was only, I think it was only $1. So I picked it up. Then I picked up at a thrift store On Tyranny, 12 Lessons from the 20th Century by Timothy Snyder. This is a novel, historical novel, Peking, Midnight in Peking, How Murder of a Young Englishwoman Haunted the Last Days of China by Paul French. Got this at Bibles to Mexico. I got this at the Book Nook on Worthy Republic, The Dispossession of Native Americans and the Road to Indian Territory by Claudio Shunt. I have his book, West of the Revolution, somewhere in this. I can't find it, but this is one of his books, The Unworthy Republic. It's American history, how we dispossessed the Indians from their land, Native Americans. And so I got that at the Book Nook, Unworthy Republic. And then I picked up today, I was at Goodwill, The Feminine Mystique by Betty Freeman. No, I got this at the Book Nook today. These are Book Nook books. I collect books on feminism, classics of feminism. And this is a very classic feminist book, The Feminine Mystique by Betty Freeman. This book, I got the Book Nook today, The Imaginaries War, The Untold Story of NARPA, the Pentagon Agency That Changed the World by Sharon Weinberger. I don't know what this is about, but it just looked interesting, and I like reading about. It just looked interesting. It was only $1. This is a biography on the painter Frank Auerbach by Claudia Lampert. He was a painter during he was a refugee from Nazi Germany when he was 7. He knew Francis Bacon, Lucien Freud, and he was among the abstract painters. And I don't know, I've looked at this book at the Book Nook and I finally just bought it. So I like reading about painters and New York and the whole abstract painter scene, so I picked this up. It has all kinds of nice illustrations in it, abstract painting, and I just grabbed it. This is a book on Leonardo da Vinci that was withdrawn from the library I got from the Book Nook. I collect books on Leonardo da Vinci, and this one was only, I think it was only $3. This one. This is a book of poetry by W.S. Merwin. I collect his poetry. This is Migrations. I got this book in the mail today. It's a used book called Opinions and Perspectives from the New York Times Book Review, edited by Francis Brown. These are reviews by different writers and authors. And so I picked that up, used.
Come from
and then I picked up this book at the Book Nook today, Tip of the Iceberg, My 3,000-Mile Journey Around Wild Alaska, The Last American Frontier by Mark Adams. That phone just saying that's spam. We don't answer it. It's on answering machine. But anyway, this is by Mark Adams. Tip of the Iceberg, My 3,000-Mile Journey Around a Wild Alaska, The Last Great American Frontier by Mark Adams. I have these two other books by Mark Adams. He wrote these books, Mark Adams, Meet Me in Atlantis, Across 3 Continents in the Search of the Legendary Sunken City. And then he wrote this book I have, Mutual Rediscovering the City, one City, the Lost City, One Step at a Time by Mark Adams. I'm mispronouncing that, but I collect his books. So that's it. That's a lot of books, and now I can put them away, and they all go in different collections. I mean, as I mentioned, I dehauled last summer, and now I just add these. I'll add this to my Leonardo da Vinci collection. I'll add this to my poetry collection. I have another book by him, and I collect biographies and abstract painters and painters over there on the shelf. I collect books like this. There are American history, about American politics and how we became an industrial military complex. I collect books on feminism, like what goes over there. I collect books on American history, especially Native American Indians. I have a huge collection over there. Novels I can read and take them back, and when I read them, if I don't really want them, I take them to the Book Nook. He has a lot of his novels, Paul French, take place in Peking and Shanghai and China. I have a couple of books by Timothy Snyder on tyranny, 20 lessons from the 20th century. I have a couple of books by him already. As you all know, I collect books on the apostles, the New Testament, and travel narratives. And I take this, I've already had Patti Smith, collect memoirs, poetry by Ron Stillman, The Age of Huts. I collect odd books like this, my D.H. Lawrence collection, my Robert Graves collection, my Europia collection of novels, this is historical fiction, books on Vienna, Austria collection. I have a huge Gail Godwin over there, a whole shelf of her novels. This is The Southern Family. This is one of her earlier ones. This one came out in 1987. Really recommend her writings. And I collect Douglas Brinkley, his American Historian. This is on Henry Ford. I like 19th century biographies. And he goes into Henry Ford, his company, in the Century of Progress. I know, he's just a good historian. I enjoy reading his books. I just like reading book reviews, especially these are from the New York Times Book Review by all kinds of people. Frank O'Connor. Oh, it just goes on and on. It was only a couple of dollars. I bought it used. I collect her. This is the third in the trilogy by Hilary Mandel. I collect biographies, especially on Bostonians, the Brahmins. My Penguin Classic collection. This goes to my Theodore Roosevelt collection. And this is the novel, short stories. And then I have the big Civil War narrative by Shelby Foote. So yeah, these all go into collections. They're not really new. They just go with other collections. So I thought I'd show these used books. I got books coming in the mail. I got a book came in the mail today. But some wanted to see the thrift store books that I've been talking about for a couple of weeks, and that's them. So as far as Monday reads, today I've just been reading St. John of the Cross, Ascent to Mount Carmel, reading some mystical theology. That's basically what I've been reading today. So yeah. So what?
The meeting is finished.
What?
The meeting is done.
I know, I'm making a video.
Oh, sorry.
My wife said the meeting's done. She was having a meeting with her educational committee from church. So she's just telling me that. So I hope you're having a good reading week. This is a Monday. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for your comments. And if you got any questions about any of the books that you've seen in this video, just comment below. I'll probably list them either tonight or tomorrow. So yeah. So I don't know what else to say. I'm hanging in there. I'm praying that God's giving grace and strength. And yeah, here in West Michigan, it was 16 degrees today and snowing. It's winter. It's just weather kind of sucks, but hey, yeah. So anyway, I'll sign off, and until next time, bye.